Oh, that's about how much it's going to cost me to replace the battery of my Dodge Journey.
Hey, y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. Guess what? Dr. Scott Walter is back in Florida and, happy to be on the East Coast and a little bit pumped up today. Oh, yeah, wearing some nice shirt and everything. We're going to talk about Kleptobot. We're not going to actually say what the name of it is. If you want to check it out, I will leave a link to the video in the description because I owe them that. But we're going to talk about why Kleptobot is the more accurate name. But first of all, I meant to mention this in yesterday's video, but my company, Artomatic.io, is hiring right now. 3 positions. Check the link in the description for the positions, all that stuff. Anyway, let me know if you're interested. That would be cool. Scott, welcome back.
Is there an age limit?
No, actually, if you want to do it, you are welcome. Have at it. If you like startup culture, we got it. So there we go. First of all, tell us about your rocket. That looks cool. That was
that was like a birthday present, and evidently I had it like hand carry on and had to get like the extra surge because they weren't so sure about it. And like, so yeah, hand luggage, it doesn't
made
work.
It home.
Made it home eventually. It's one of those kind of classic 1950s sort of toy things, and it's really hard to figure out how to get it wound up. And speaking of wound up, I'm really wound up. And we'll find out at the end why I'm even more wound up than normal and why this rant is going off the rails. Do you want any more introduction? Because you already did a video this morning about the Kleptobot.
Yes. And
you asked me whether I wanted to do it. And my response was no, because I don't want to give them oxygen. I've ignored them to this point. Everyone else has asked me to talk about them, said, sorry. I mean, they want us to talk about them.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm breaking my own rule, but this will be the first and last time. Normally, I do not like coming on and just, tearing someone down. That's not the whole point. The whole point is like, look at technology, talk about the good things. But in this particular case, there's not really, what was it Mark Twain said? If there's, if you don't have something good to say about someone, don't say anything, something like that.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's just so over the top, and it's getting so much oxygen anyway that it's like, oh, okay, we're going to give ourselves oxygen on your oxygen. So here we go. Let's go for it, John.
So if you hadn't seen my last video, which would have been yesterday when this comes out, I will leave a link to that at the end of the video up there or whatever. I talk about this, and I also say how difficult it is to be a company like Tesla or like Figure AI or like Sanctuary or like Agility, all these companies.
Or like, Uptopnik, I think. Yes.
Yeah. There are many companies and Boston Dynamics too. I mean, you've got these first mover companies who are doing all of this work, hard work, research and development and everything. And then you have these kind of knockoffs coming and just sort of stealing their oxygen, basically. So I'm going to
basically stealing their intellectual property just like that.
Yeah, and it's very bad. So I'm gonna do this. I can't see you, Scott, right now because I've got control over this thing. So yell at me if you want me to stop it. But this, by the way, is not Kleptobot. We're going to start with Phoenix.
This is Phoenix. This is Sanctuary. They're a legitimate company out of Vancouver.
Yeah, and by the way,
have done some groundbreaking stuff, and they were before Tesla, so they're not copying anything from Tesla. Okay, this is a 2018 company.
Right, and Phoenix, if you want me to go check out the factory or something like that, I'm going to be in Vancouver up at Whistler first week of March. So I'll be happy.
And the other reason we're showing this is because they should also be a little bit upset.
Absolutely. So I'm going to show the beginning of this, and we're going to see why. If you've seen the other video from Kleptobot, you'll understand why.
There'll be a sense of deja vu.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you get the classic unveil. Yeah, nice, cool, pretty shots, things like that. But around 16 seconds, I believe, is where we get the thing. So, is that where it is? Oh, maybe I'm missing that.
It's coming right there.
Right there. Okay. So let's rewind that just a little bit, just so you can catch that again. You got drawing.
Yeah. Yes, the nice 2D sketches and stuff like that turning into reality. What a kind of a nice idea to put into a market.
It's amazing how that stuff happens.
Yeah,
and then let's walk over here. I'm sure most of you have seen the Tesla bot. This is a minute and 17. We'll just watch this again. This is last generation Tesla bot, but there's a reason for this because, of course,
look how smooth the movement is here.
And look at exactly this. Watch this. Looking at the hands, doing the whole calibration thing. Where are we going to see that again in just a second? And the
Yes.
sorting.
Oh, look at this. Yeah, let's look at what's going on here. Yeah. Look how smooth and natural it looks like the bot's actually doing the movements.
Right, right. So we've got all of that lovely stuff, and TeslaBot is doing his thing. And oh my gosh, this looks so primitive compared to the modern one. I mean, look at all the cabling and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah. You can see all the improvements they've made.
Right. It's crazy, man. And that's the irony of this whole thing, is that they stole it, but they stole the last one, not the current one. So,
yes, exactly.
Whoops. Okay. Anyway, so we see all of that stuff, and then there's like the part where it does yoga and stuff like that at the end. Which
okay, and then you want to go back to, I think, an even earlier video, which we the unveil, where they show different parts of how strong the actuators are, the torque control system.
Right. That's right.
The torque control system with the egg. I mean, there's a bunch of things here that are going to look very, very familiar.
I would have to search for that a little bit to find it, but I think people probably remember. So let's now move on to Kleptobot, the humanoid Klepto.
Yep.
So
introducing Klepto, the humanoid robot. And Kleptobot is the bot that stole AI Day.
Right. It is. It's the Grinch that stole AI Day.
Yep. How the Kleptobot stole AI Day. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the first thing right here. We saw this exact thing when in the first video that I can't find it right now. I'd have to go and do a little searching for that. But anyway, so we saw that. And then let's continue on here. So again, we got actuators, push-pull control. It had the thing with the guy playing the piano with the linear actuator and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A reminder. Just because. And then look at this.
Where have I seen that before? John, go back. Where did I see that before?
No. These guys invented that. That's never happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there we go. So we have some drawings, and and just about the same kind of pacing and everything too. And we have, look at that motion. Does that motion look natural to you? It's pretty rough.
Looks very rough.
Yeah. And then see right here.
That looks familiar. Where have I seen that before?
I've never seen that before.
The background looks a little bit funny there as well. Okay. Yeah. So we got something like that.
And then where have we seen this before?
Oh, yeah. Wow, a few different items, but
yeah. So anyway,
and then look at this walking. Now, I have seen walking like that before, and you know where I've seen walking like that before?
Terminator.
I think it was in Mars Attacks. Okay, look at that too. Okay, that whole thing. All right,
and then we got the linear actuator with it's not a piano this time. Come on,
not a piano, but they did it. You know, they wanted to be careful here.
Right. It does also,
not to be such a blatant ripoff. And even then, there's something about that doesn't quite look real to me. It also looks staged, in my opinion.
Yes. And then again, they have supposedly the hazard environment robot that looks pretty much the same thing as the other.
Yeah, you just change the color and suddenly it's like, oh, it's a hazardous one. It's like, no, it's like, you haven't done anything here. So
and then
all this is stolen IP, stolen ideas, nothing original here. You can copy all you want. If you're copying, especially this blatantly, it means you don't actually understand how it was designed and why it was designed the way it was. Now, to me, my opinion is they had the opportunity when the Optican was on display in Shanghai and a couple other places to take lots of pictures with their Apple iPhones or to do a LiDAR scan or something like that.
Yeah.
So they're able to get a pretty good scan of everything.
The back of these phones has LiDAR on it, so you can scan it.
Yes. So you can get a scan, and from that,
anyway, you can scan it very
you can then start, creating parts in 3D printing a lot of the parts. Yeah. And from it, you can create your own Optican.
Right.
This does not look like a real bot to me. This looks like a plastic 3D printed bot. Not even sure if it's full size. Maybe it's full size, maybe it's not.
Right.
All the walking there.
Remember spot where you see a human with it. So like
but it looked like compositing to me. There's a lot
of scenes. Or it could have just been the leg. Like you only see this
yes, but but even to me, there's a certain amount of compositing because the shading and everything else, nothing looks right. There's just something about that's off in that scene to me.
Right.
The other thing is that more than likely, when you look at the walking scene, if
Right.
you remember Mars Attack, that was basically stop animation, right? Stop motion.
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
Stop motion.
Or if you want to call it claymation, this looks like claymation or stop animation to me. It's too clunky. There's too many frames that are kind of missing. Just everything about it. Nothing looks right. That is not believable at all. Okay.
Right.
So why are we giving them any air? Okay. This is something I discussed with Randy earlier today, and that is humanoid bots is the new crypto scam.
Right.
Okay. Right now, there's a lot of interest because people are seeing that these markets are huge.
Right.
And there's going to be a lot of startups out there, and there's going to be a lot of startups that are going to be making big deals about it, and they're going to try to be first on the public markets because there's only one other company that recently went out from China, and it also looked like it was copying some other style of bots to have a public offering. Tesla is the only way you can get a piece of the action of a company that is involved in that space. That's it.
Right.
All the others are privately funded, and they will probably have other series that will come later on that the public will not be able to get into.
Right.
So when you see the pent up demand of people not being able to invest in this space, it's going to be ripe for opportunities for people to come out there. So I am not at all convinced that they have anything real. The whole marketing of the video and everything is such a blatant ripoff. Now, unfortunately for people in China, they don't get to see a lot of Western videos. They are absolutely blocked by the Great Chinese Firewall. And so they will have never seen the Tesla stuff. And so if they were to see the Tesla stuff later on, their reaction might be, oh my goodness, look, Tesla copied Kleptobot. Yeah, it's all, no. I'm not even going to go into the specs. The specs are all baloney. They're they haven't achieved any of those things. They can make whatever claims they want, but everything is baloney. And I'm calling it out. This, in my opinion, this is a complete scam. And until they can prove something otherwise, until they can prove they have engineers that are creative and can actually understand a mechanism, it's okay if you analyze something and you get some inspiration. And from that inspiration, we've come up with even a better way to tweak that thing, make it a little bit better. But no, it's way too much. Now, there are other Chinese companies in this space, like, Unitree, that's working on it, and also Fourier, and they have their own designs. They're unique designs.
No, Fourier is cool.
And some of them don't even have the hands yet. I mean, they're working on, 18 months, they get something up and walking, and it's provably walking. So there are Chinese companies that are legit. This one here, no, I don't think at all. Yeah. And, I'm calling their bluff. And if they want to say that I'm wrong, then they got to come up with better proof than copying whatever the other people are doing.
I'm happy to have them fly us out so we can look at it, or have them demo it, or whatever they want to do. So that's cool. I do note here that if you're going to be making up stats, why would you 187 pounds or 85 kilos? That is a beast of a robot. That's a heavy bot.
Yeah. 85 kilos. Evidently, they weren't paying close enough attention. Yeah. And 5'10". Oh, they decided to make it even an inch taller. So
I know.
A little bit more.
Yep. There you go. So anyway,
it's just pulling numbers out of their butts. That's it. That's as simple as that. Yeah. So let's see if we can get more views than that thing. That doesn't really.
Oh, I should probably check on that. Let me see how many views this guy's gotten. It has gotten 37,500 views.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
and unfortunately, we're probably going to be driving a lot over that way. You don't have to view it. I mean, seriously, don't look at.
Like I said,
they don't deserve it, because we should not be rewarding that kind of behavior. I'm calling it out. Like I say, I really did not want to do this video because I did not want to give them oxygen. Sometimes when you do that ends up giving a bit more. But the oxygen they're going to get, let's just say, is going to make people kind of scorn what they've done. It's a complete copy.
Right. Yeah, and again, it's unclear exactly how, like, what they're doing. Are they looking for I don't know what in China if it would be Series A, but the equivalent of that kind of venture capital kind of thing, and they're looking for a big chunk of money or whatever. But anyway, that the odds are that's the situation.
But one thing that they managed to do, and This video has been around. I mean, I don't know if they brought it up again, but I think it was a couple of months ago that it was already out there. Already saw it, and again, I didn't even want to mention. It's like, oh, it's such a blatant ripoff. So CERN Basher has been putting together a compendium of a lot of the different bots out there, and he's asking about that. And I said, don't waste your time. It doesn't go in there. No, it's just I don't want to see them in there because they have not proven that they have done their homework. The whole other thing is if you copy someone else's homework, it means you're going to fail the test because you really didn't understand why the answers are what they are. The other thing is it was very clear on Wednesday, if people didn't know, when Elon was talking about AI Day 3, there's not going to be an AI Day 3 because, he says they're blatantly being copied. And he was pointing back to that. And that's why, I'm saying, it's the Kleptobot, the bot that stole AI Day 3.
I know.
So we'll be making a little Dr. Seuss rhyme about that.
That will contribute.
Yes. Put the Grinchy face on top of that thing, and that's it. And then the name blazoned on there is Kleptobot. Okay.
There we go. So we'll see. But anyway, so yes, we I guess we've given them some oxygen, but hopefully it's bad oxygen. So it's bad air. Choke on it. So we will see. Okay, so to go on to a different topic, but I think an interesting different rant, and that is the rant about how EVs are always going to run out of batteries.
Oh the range anxiety of the dead battery, and the fear of a dead battery. Okay, so
also manufacture and being an idiot when it comes to manufacturing. So
they're realizing there are certain things that are maintenance items. And making sure that maintenance items are easily accessible.
And my mom had a Chrysler Sebring, so same company. And so anyway, you tell your rant.
Okay. So basically, we've been away for I don't know, about 6 or 7 weeks, and we have 2 vehicles here. And I was out driving one of them, and then I got a call from my son to say that he took the other vehicle out, and the battery's dead.
And which one's which? One's a Tesla, one's a Dodge.
The one that is the EV that's battery powered had plenty of pep. When we came back, battery was fine. I had actually had a trickle charger on the other thing to make sure the battery would be okay. And it was good enough for one crank and then a 4-mile trip in Florida weather where it's not freezing cold, the engine's warm and stuff like that. 5 minutes later, come out.
Wow.
And you hear the clicking sound and stuff like that, and it didn't work. Now, the thing is, you cannot jumpstart with a Tesla, or EV. There's nothing there for it. It is strongly recommended never to do it because you might damage one or both vehicles. So don't even attempt to do a jumpstart.
Right.
So I kind of had to deal with that, and I've dealt with it because unfortunately we have 2 of these vehicles. And the time it happened before, I thought it would be a great learning experience for my kids to understand how to replace a battery. And the first thing is they couldn't find the battery. I sent them off this mission, open it up, figure it out, find the battery. We'll go ahead, we'll go to Costco, we'll swap it out, stuff like that. And they couldn't find the battery. And I just thought, what? And it's like, it's right in the hood, popped it open right there. And I could see, a red and a black port, but no battery.
The leads
are there. So if you need to do a jump start, it's like, where's the battery? It's like, oh, like going all over the place. And then the thing was in the garage and we had to get it out of the garage, right? But the problem is to get it out of the garage, you have to put it into neutral. And to get it into neutral, you have to turn it on. And the battery was so dead in that thing, we couldn't even get it on to get in neutral. It's like, oh, God, what are we going to do here? So it was like really tricky to get, I had to get 2 jumper cables because the way the things were in the garage and where the leads were, everything was wrong. So enough to kind of get it out. And then it's like, all right, now I'm going to change the battery to figure out where it is. I had to go to YouTube to figure out where it was. And the battery is in the front driver's wheel well.
Yeah.
It's ensconced underneath there. And you look at the YouTube videos, and the first thing you have to do is you have to remove the tire. After you remove the tire, you have to remove the wheel well. And they tell you, be very careful because you get these special little plastic fasteners there. And if you're not right, the things break off. And then good luck finding the replacement for that. And then you get up in there and there's this shelf that it goes in there and it's so tight. You need a special tool to be able to go in there to be able to extract the thing. And then not only that, it turns out the form factor for this thing is a unique form factor. You can go to Costco or wherever and they won't have it. It's like, nope, we don't sell that, or we had to special order it or something like that. And it was such a complicated matter. And then when I was looking at the whole thing, it's like, yikes. I mean, first I wanted to show my kids how to do it. Can't do it. And it was at that point I swore to them, never buying an ICE vehicle again. That was it. Okay, so we are never, and you kids are never, and they could understand. It's like, it's like, yeah, when I was a teenager, I was able to do all kinds, I could fix everything. But this is a maintenance item. And for all those people who talk about how difficult the EVs are, the batteries and this and that and that, and said, sorry, I've had more problems with batteries and ICE vehicles in my lifetime than I've ever had with an EV. Oh, yeah. Second, there are certain maintenance items you have on a car, and they should be accessible. And this idea that you put it in a place that you have to go to the dealer to do it. In the end, I had to go to like Bell Tire. I had to go to two of them because, like, again, I went to one of them and go, oh, we don't have the battery. Let's check to see which one of our shops has the battery. Yeah. They found the one. I had to drive all the way up there. Took them 90 minutes. That was how much labor I had to pay for them to get it up there, pop the whole thing out. And I could not believe how long it was. And that thing cost me probably 4 to 5 times what it would have cost me if I had just gone to Costco and been able to do the battery swap and everything else going there, which I had done with my minivan like 12 months before, because that battery also died in a driveway one day. It's like, so, everyone said, yeah, but you're not. Maintenance item, anywhere between 24 and 48 months, guaranteed, you've got to replace the battery in your ICE vehicle.
And let's remember here a couple of things. Number one is just to add fuel to this fire. It must be a Chrysler Dodge thing, because my mom had a Chrysler Sebring, the convertible, and she loved it. And then one day she's like, the battery's dead. And this was a while back when she was much more, physically. And I was like, oh, Mom, just pop the hood, look inside, pull the Well, it turns out the battery is under the car, literally on the bottom. So you have to put it up on a riser and pull it out. I mean, at least it wasn't in a wheel well.
Oh, yeah. Anyone can do that. Yeah.
What the hell are you putting a battery?
I've got the jacks and stuff like that. Yeah.
Just imagine like all the crap that gets thrown up on it too as you're driving. It's like you've got to wait.
Dead squirrels and rats and leaves and who knows.
Snow and salt and just like every bad thing you can imagine.
Well, that was the other thing, is the battery is in the wheel well. I'm like, what goes in the wheel well? Salt, and no wonder the battery is dead. It's like being exposed to this harsh environment, as close to the ground as possible. So a dumb location. The leads are longer than they need to be. And it's like, you could not find room in the engine compartment for this thing. And only that, it's a smaller battery than the normal battery, which means it dies sooner. It doesn't have as much cranking energy and everything else. And plus, they must have a lousy alternator, because the drive down there was like, I think about an 8-mile drive.
Right.
And when you drive, and it had enough force, and that thing had been charged. I mean, the trickle charger was on there, and she was like, all green, everything's fine, battery's fine. Go on down there. The alternator must also be. So I was explaining to my sons, like, okay, here's how the car works. It's like, well, first you get the battery, and because there's so much current going through it, it can't go through the switch because it'll burn out the switch. You got to have a solenoid. Okay, exactly. so you're gonna have enough current for the solenoid. Because he's wondering, well, how come the electronics work? How about this? And I'm hearing this like clicking sound. This, oh yeah, that's a solenoid going like that. Because once the solenoid goes in, then you get enough current that goes to this other motor, and that motor is going to be the one that turns the engine over. So your ICE engine is going to have an electric engine over for it to start up. And then what's happening there is that then the starter motor is drawing so much current that there's no longer enough current to close the solenoid, because the battery's too weak. And that's why it's going. So every time you hear it's trying to turn over, and you hear the click, 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 click. And it said, and besides that, there's like this other motor, but it's not really a motor. They call it an alternator, even though it's a generator that's on the crankshaft there. That's got to like go around with these other, wheels and the fan belts and all that stuff to go in there. That's supposed to recharge the battery to be able to do the whole thing. And he is just like, what? It's like, yeah, it's pretty complicated. And we haven't even got to what's on the inside of the engine yet. All right.
In a way, it's incredible that this stuff even works. It's like, it's amazing. But then when you get people who are saying like EVs aren't the future, I'm like, how can they not be the future?
They're simple. It's simple. Any engineer learns Murphy's principle is not a joke, and KISS is not a joke. Okay, keep it simple, stupid. Those are major rules. Okay, and we laugh about Murphy's law, but it is so important. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So guaranteed in your ICE vehicle, the battery is going to die, the alternator is going to die, the starter motor is going to die, the solenoid is going to die, and the master cylinder is going to die on the brakes. You go down that list. Every one of them is going to fail at some point, and I know it because I've replaced all of them at some point in my life.
Believe me too. And then you have to have oil and stuff like that, because there's so many.
Don't forget the gas. Oh yeah. Also the fuel pump. I remember having a price of fuel pump. Well, going uphill on a bend, you know, heavy traffic, stuff like that, 70 mile per hour traffic. Suddenly the fuel pump decided to cut out because it was overheating.
Yeah.
And the car just dies for like no reason
like,
in the highway. And boy, you know, suddenly the traffic is coming around. We're trying to figure out, whoa, how do we get in? And things like, oh, that was great. So again, something else that's going to fail in you at an unopportune time, something like that. And it wasn't that they had like some glitch in there to say, oh, it's getting a bit too warm. It's like, maybe you should have a warning, say fuel pump is overheating. You have got 5 minutes or 2 minutes to pull over to the side. And then I would have seen that and I would have known to pull over, but instead it just cut out right there.
Yeah. Oh, and let's not forget also the classic car things is you get kind of an orange engine light or a red light that you don't even know what it means. You have to look in the damn manual to go through and figure out what the symbol means.
Well, that's the whole idea. You have to go to the dealer to have all that stuff taken care of. So again, the battery, what's wearing out? The cars are getting too reliable. What's the one thing that guarantee wears out every 24 hours? Oh, the battery. Let's make sure it's something that they can't do because they can't do anything with spark plugs anymore, right? You can't do the tune-up anymore. I mean, all those things, it's like, nope.
We got a battery. So, but here's the other thing. A gas car, an internal combustion engine vehicle, for the first few seconds of every time you turn it on is an EV. It's running off a battery. So everybody, it's like, I don't understand. From the time I was 12 years old and did my first science fair project where I built an EV out of just spare parts and one of those little lantern cell batteries, I was like, why don't we all drive these? It's so many.
And I don't know how many times on a cold winter day I've gone down to the garage with the fear, is the car going to turn over or not? And I've had that die a lot of times. Or, you know, it's in the parking lot, you're at work, you're coming back late at night, you know, it's like you're putting in a really hard day, you go in the car, no one around to give you a jump. Plus, I've given other people jump starts so many times in foul weather and everything. And this whole idea that EVs die in the cold, it's like, you know what? ICE vehicles die in the cold all the time. And the other thing I know about an ICE vehicle is if like it's a super cold snowstorm on out there and you get like an eighth of a tank of gas and you're stranded somewhere, you're going to be freezing cold within a couple hours because you're going to run out of gas like that and you're going to be cold. So this whole idea, the EVs won't be able to keep you warm, it's like same problem. I've had range anxiety in cars. I've been driving and realized, it's down to E. It's like, where's the closest gas station? And I'm looking, it's like, oh no, it's gonna be a long way, and having to drive really slow to make sure I don't run out of gas.
I can remember a few road trips going to like whatever. And you know, you're like, okay, we got an eighth of a tank, we're good. And then all of a sudden, massive traffic jam, and you're stuck, and you're sitting there burning. Those engines are still running. That tank, that thing is, if you're in an EV and you get stuck, like you got 10 miles to the next supercharger, and you get stuck in a traffic jam, you're pretty well okay because you just sit there. It's not,
and suddenly your range goes up because you're going so slow.
Or I mean, if you're dead still, you're just sitting there, and the heat pump will use a little bit of energy, but it's not using very much compared to the battery size. So you're in better shape in a traffic jam if you have low battery than you are if you have low gas tank. You're in big trouble.
Oh yeah. I mean, with everything, you always have to be looking to make sure you have enough fuel to be able to make to your destination. You're constantly doing that. You're constantly doing those calculations. It's no different with an EV, except in this case, it's telling you what to do. And, you know, I didn't realize how spoiled I was till I had to rent some ICE vehicles over in Europe.
Woo! Yeah.
And first of all, they don't give you, automatics. So I went from one pedal driving
manual. All right.
to 4-limb driving all of a sudden, like one hand on the wheel, one hand on the stick, one in the clutch, and then, the other one for the, so I'm doing all that stuff. And then of course, the other thing you got to figure out is like, oh, is this a 6-speed? And then like, where did they put reverse? And like reverse is always like in a different place and trying to figure that out. And then the stocks with like all these buttons is like, wow, everything's getting really complicated. And then I would go out to the car and forgot to bring the key with me. Oh, I had my cell phone, but not the key. And then walk away from car. It's like, did I lock the car? I don't remember. And then have to go back and lock. And it's like all these things you just get so used to. That was unbelievable. It's like, so nice. And then the biggest disaster we had is that like one of the cars that we wanted to rent, they wanted to give us a bigger size car. And like in Europe, it's like, nope. Yeah. We rented the economy size car for a reason because the parking spaces around where we are like economy size. It's like, it's really hard to find a parking space. I did not want a boat. Yeah. And like, I was like, well, there's one car we can give you here. It's electric. It's, okay, we'll try electric. That's fine. And it was a Great Wall Motors funky car.
Wow.
I was expecting, oh, okay, so we'll give that thing a try. It should, should be all right. What's going on there? It had like, I think 180 kilometers range or something like that. And so it's like, well, that should be enough. We're not going to be going that far. And I got in there and it was like stocked, busy stuff. So it was all, kind of the same kind of ice interior. And then they had these throw switches that looked like they're right out of the Apollo spacecraft, because you know how they have those dividers between them to make sure you don't hit them. It's like, okay, they got a bunch of those things on. That's interesting. And then, of course, but the funny thing is, a guy from Enterprise says, "Oh yeah, but you run it a manual, non-automatic. We have to charge you for the fact that it's an automatic. It's an EV." It's like, yeah, but still, it's an automatic. It's like, I didn't request it. It's like, what are you talking about? Like I wanted a certain configuration. You're not giving it to me. There's no way I'm paying for that. Right. But anyway, they decided to put a little circular thing down there for the gear changer instead of having, their Prindle is down there. So they take up that space with an unnecessary gear shifter thing. And when I was doing reverse, it was like really annoying because you constantly have to like move your hands, from the steering wheel down to there. Whereas the Tesla, you just go flick, flick like that, and you're not even thinking about it. So, but the biggest disaster, and this is the problem you always have, you get in a rent a car and you think you've checked everything out. Oh, all the systems, I know where the mirrors are. Right. Okay, I'm familiar where this car is. I know how the wiper's going. We get going, and the first thing, car fogs up. Can't see a thing. It's like, what?
And you don't know where
in Germany it's raining, it's just raining and it's fogging. We can't see anything. And we go to turn the thing on, and they have these throw switches, and one of them is put on there, but there is like no way to control the temperature or how fast the fan is going. It was just on. It's like, this is crazy. There's gonna be controls. And there was a touch screen display on there. So it's, figure it's gotta be something there. So we go there, we look at where the fan icon is. Oh, that's gonna be the climate control. Put it on up there. And it says, you have to turn on the vehicle power before you can use this display. And it shows an icon of start, stop. So like what start, stop buttons are in all the cars. It's like, so it's showing us that right on the display. And we're thinking like, oh, is that, so am I just supposed to tap that? So you tap it. It does nothing except makes the splash screen go away. And so we're looking around in the car where the power button is for the car to turn the car on, while we're driving at 100 kilometers per hour.
Oh,
okay. So we're on the Autobahn. We're actually driving this thing, and it keeps on telling us, "Oh, you're going to turn the power of the car on." It's like, I'm driving. The power is on by default, and you're telling me. And there's like a bunch of other displays, like to go into some settings. That's like, oh, you need to turn the power on. And so we could not get the defroster to work. So I basically had to tell my family, all right, in order to make it home, everyone's going to hold their breath because they're fogging up the windows.
I was thinking somebody would just reach over with their jacket.
I mean, that's what we had to do it the old school way, but it just, we could not see out of the whole thing. And then, having to roll the window down to get a little bit in there, and we could not get that thing to work the whole time. So it's like a huge software glitch. The other thing is like, okay, tiny trunk. So we get the trunk. Yikes. We had 3 carry-on bags. We couldn't even get them to fit in the back. Okay, it's pretty small.
Oh my gosh.
But it's like, but it must have a frunk.
No,
all the guts, the battery, the motor, everything is in there. So it's like no storage whatsoever. So there's no place to put anything in there. Yeah, it was okay to drive, it felt like an EV and stuff like that. But I looked at it like, glitchy. I mean, it's like that is something that this whole idea that you're asking the user to push a button that doesn't even exist.
Right.
And if you're going to touch the screen, why not just say, if you must do this, just push here to confirm that this is what you want to do? Because then the whole idea of software to have something like that. And then they end up having these stupid buttons down there to be able to do these toggle switches because they want to make it look like a spacecraft. But then and they have like also the Prindle for that. It's like, well, if you're going to have those things, why didn't you just have a fan speed control there or temperature speed control? If you're going to put buttons in there, it's like the 2 buttons that I wish they actually had there. They had it on display, and it's hidden because of that. So bad software engineering, bad user interface. You either are all in or you're all out. Either you just put all the buttons in there and they don't give me anything on the display except like navigation and a few other things, or put it all in there.
Right.
But the fact that they're doing this hybrid in there means that they're not sure how the systems are talking or working together. So again, bad user design where you can see there were a bunch of teams that were arguing over what they want to. One team, we got to have the stocks like everyone else. So they put the stocks in there. And someone else like, well, we're going to make it look like spacecraft. So we're going to have these buttons over here, which don't look like anything of the others. And the other team that's just arguing about, oh no, but we got to have the touchscreen display and got to make sure we have all the stuff in there. It's like, nope,
Wow.
you got to have one designer.
I wonder
one
if they
designer that makes the decisions on this is how we go and that's how we go. Not this, oh, we got this committee, we're going to have a consensus. Yeah, this guy's going to quit if we don't make things sure he goes his way. So, okay, we'll put his design elements in there. And that's what you see. You see it's a mess.
They probably hired Volkswagen to do all the design, the software design, because it sounds exactly like a Volkswagen interior.
Absolute disaster. Yeah. So somewhere I've got a video that'll put out that we ended up filming of this whole debacle of just like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, competition's coming. I'm really worried.
There you go. I was going to say, Scott. So what you're telling me is that Tesla doesn't have anything that everybody else doesn't have, and so go ahead and buy the.
They can't copy. Everyone's trying to copy them, and they can't copy because if you don't understand what's going on, you can't copy. And that's the other thing is that you can copy the mechanics as much as you want, but what's the most important part of the bot? What is the most important part of the bot? It's the FSD chip. It's the training set. And unless they're doing real corporate espionage and get someone in there stealing that stuff, it's like, no, good luck being able to replace that. So you can copy the mechanics what you want all day long. But if you don't understand why they're sized the way they are, why they're designed the way they are, what are the issues that are going on there, then you won't be able to innovate because you have not really understood the fundamental problems.
Right. Well, if they're accurate and it is 85 kilos as opposed to Tesla bots in pounds, it's around 115 or so or something. But, clearly they also don't know how to properly copy it because it's way more massive because they don't know how to be efficient.
They may not even know how much it weighs. I mean, I guess they could have just copied what was on there, but they're just kind of assuming that because, again, I don't think they built one. I think it's 3D printed plastic model that they're putting on display and making everyone think, because that looked like a kind of
puppeteering.
The animation just did not look right to me.
So there we go. So we brought it back full circle. Man, this has been like Scott's rant day.
The classic rant. Yeah.
How much coffee have you had today? That's the question.
Zero. I didn't have any. I had green tea. Wow, that was it. I don't know if green tea counts. It's good for the PSA levels. Okay. So
maybe it's just the Florida sun. You got a little bit of like warmth and heat back in it.
Maybe, maybe a little bit, or maybe it's like the Florida traffic this time of year. It's like,
because we had all the snowbirds. Yeah,
all the snowbirds and all the art festivals and stuff like that are going on right now, and it's like everyone's got to go out to it. And I just need to go pick up some food.
I need groceries.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to Publix and. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate the ranting. And for people who want to check out Kleptobot, you know where to find it. We're not giving any more oxygen. We're
Don't
done.
give it anymore. Yep.
And if you want to go buy a a Dodge Caravan or a Chrysler Sebring?
No, it was a journey. Whatever. I don't know if they still.
Sorry. Yeah.
Whether they still have that platform or not.
Right. Anyway,
but as far as I'm concerned,
just take it from us. Don't buy a nice car.
I mean, it was a nice car, but I mean, that just. As you can see, it just gets me on this rant that it's impossible to be able to do a simple maintenance item. Yeah. And the question is, all right, I could do this, but then I have to get a jack. Okay, we get the car has a jack and put it up there. But every time you're doing something like that, you're putting life and limb in danger. So is it worth the 150, $200 you're going to save taking it somewhere to go ahead and do something like that? Right. And, just risk that going on?
Yep. When I was young and poor, I used to drive the car up on those, the little, you could get the little skid plate thing so you could drive it up so you could change the oil. But every time it's like driving it up there.
And then it's like a little bit wobbly. What's going on there?
It was stupid and young and not a good idea.
Yeah. But, now we may end up attempting to change this battery on yourself. And I just want to document what a nightmare it's going to be. Because first we're going to have to find the replacement battery. That's going to be the first one. Then the second, we're going to have to go out there and do the whole thing. Take the wheel off, go in there, make sure I don't break, one of the fasteners. And then I'm sure we're going to go and look at the shelf and you're like, what? Wait a minute. How do we take that out? And
for those people, I wanted to say this earlier, but for those people who are like, well, Tesla has a 12-volt battery. Also, they have a lithium ion 12-volt, which is supposed to last about 10 years or so, something like that. It lasts more or less the lifetime of the car. Yeah. And so you might have to replace it once if you own the car for an excessively long amount of time.
And they've thought everything through as well. So a lot of people will say, well, but if the battery dies, you can't open the front. Because remember that loop that I was in, that I couldn't get into neutral to be able to get out.
Exactly.
Well, no, is that Tesla actually has a way to go around that when that battery dies, it goes into a different mode, and there's a little plate or a little access hole that you pop in there, and behind it, you will see these two leads, and all you need is like a 9-volt battery, and you pop it on there, and that'll be enough to do it. And now you're able to get entry. But you can only do that when the system is dead. So it's not like someone can use that to try to hack into your car when it's actually active. So it's only as a safety way of being able to get in there. So you don't need all this complex stuff. So he's like, oh, but you need a 9-volt battery. Okay, listen, but now it's a 9-volt battery. It's a lithium ion battery. You don't have to worry much about it, and everything is easily accessible.
Right. Yeah, and and also Tesla, at least if the car is under warranty still, they have very good roadside service. So if you do have something like that, they'll come and get you.
It's crazy how good it is. They've come out to my house a couple of times, and they've done more than I asked. It's like they're working on one thing, and the next thing it's like, oh yeah, I checked your tire pressure, topped those things off, and did a few other things. Like, well, I didn't ask you to. It's like, well, it was here.
That's nice. So they're very good. So for all the people who say bad Tesla service, I've had very good experiences with them. I thought.
I thought there was one item that I had to have done, and I thought for sure I'd have to drive to the service center, and I was expecting to do it. And they said, "Oh yeah, we could be out there on Tuesday." I'm like, "What?
Nice.
You don't want me to drive in? No, the guy's coming through. He can stop in. All right, fine." So,
all good then. All right. Well, thank you so much, Scott, and hopefully everybody enjoyed that. You see Scott's thing, Going Ballistic 5. Follow
now you know what my handle is, what it is.
Exactly.
It's partly a love of rockets. As you can see, the rocket. We talked about that back there, the rocket already. And, yep.
Going to orbit, baby.
Going ballistic. Yep.
You're good. Maybe we should call you the angry Tesla owner instead of the angry astronaut. So George, with apologies.
Oh, come on. I'm not angry. I just rant. There's a big difference. And of course, if I do that, people probably wouldn't follow me, because the longest time I never followed Dirty Tesla, because I thought he was a guy that was like Tesla Q from the name. And I realized because cars, like in Michigan, it's always dirty, of course.
Speaking of which, we are both going to be in Muskegon. Speaking of Dirty Tesla, in what is it, June 15th? I think June 15th.
Yeah, I think it's June. I think is it the 15th, 16th in Muskegon, Michigan. And that's on the western side on Lake Michigan. It's a great city. I mean, especially that time of year. It's a wonderful place to go. It's a lot of fun.
I have not been to Muskegon, so I don't know the place. So I'm looking forward to it very much. So
it's definitely a cool town, a cool city. That I've been there once. Yeah, I had like a business trip up around there, and I stayed downtown Muskegon for like the whole weekend. It was like, oh, this place is just awesome. And it was like in the wintertime too. It was already, it's even better in the summer. And this is a big Tesla gathering. It's the biggest meeting of Tesla that's not on a coast. So basically, as far as anyone that's a Midwesterner, that's the place to go. And there's going to be a lot of top names there. I don't know if we're ready to announce who's going to be there, but
I don't think they are. And wait for an announcement. I can't talk about this just yet, but I think I have another announcement. Speaking of events like that, but yes, definitely, if you live around the area, or if you just want to travel up to Muskegon, if you're in Florida and want to beat the heat for a couple of days in June, by all means.
In June, yeah. It's and it's really. See, at that point, you're at, I think, right around 45 degrees latitude. So it's not like, you're going to have the midnight sun or something like that, but still the sun stays up pretty late that time of year. I mean, it's going to be 10:30, almost 11 o'clock. See, in the western side of Michigan, it's even more. So where I'm over in the eastern side, easily, 10ish or so is when it goes down. So
yeah, I remember, growing up in Cleveland, it was like, wow, in the summers, it was almost 10 before the sun would go down. So yeah.
Oh yeah. And then it's almost to Chicago, so we don't quite have the time zone shift. So it's still Eastern time, even though it's like
right. So
it should be central.
The left
hand.
Yeah.
So the sun comes up late, and it also sets late.
So there you go.
It's going to be great. So there's going to be a lot of influencers there, that names that we're all familiar with, that will be announced in due time.
Yep. So anyway, if you're interested, sign up. I'll put a link to that actually too in the description, so you can check out the details. So awesome. All righty, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Ciao.
Bye now.